Hello, everyone. It's great to be here with these people here, and they need no introduction, especially Sunitha, Tati. We go back a very long way, and a story that shall be told at another time. But nice to meet you. And I want to begin by asking, see, Telugu cinema has become the face of pan-India cinema today, right? Big movies, big directors, bigness has become it. So in this atmosphere, how do directors and actors, upcoming actors, directors, how do you see yourself fitting in? Do you say, is it easy to rebel? Is it easy to do what you want to do in this scenario? Yeah, please.
Okay. So it's amazing that all these films are doing so well in pan-India level, and our rooted stories are being received by the audience of entire country. And I think it sets bigger standards for all of us. Like big doors have opened, and it puts more responsibility on us to tell bigger stories. So I think it's amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
Sir, I think is it easier to rebel? I think it's the only way forward is to rebel. I say because in this era of, hope I don't get into trouble, franchisee films or nostalgia baits, I think doing something outrageously original is the only way forward. I think that's how we make our space.
I have to say that story has always been the hero.
Yeah.
And having Telugu industry finding their stories, the business and the market, not only across India but all over the world, yes, it opens up a lot of doors. But what makes you stay stronger and sustain this win run is to kind of tell stories that are very authentic and tell stories that will actually resonate across both regionally and also nationally.
Right. So one thing that we have all been noticing is that when a movie opens, more than the quality of the film or the discussions about the themes in the film, everybody talks about how much the opening day collection is, second day's increase or decrease, drops drastically, or whatever it is. That's all people.
Percentages.
Percentage, yes. It's all, we've all become accountants all of a sudden. Nobody wants to talk about, like.
They want to compare.
And they want to
compare.
compare.
To this one, that
yeah,
one.
it fails to break X film's record, things like that. Now, in this atmosphere, when you want to foster no, let's all admit, so we're not against the big films, right? Because those are very important. They bring in the money, they bring in the visibility to the industry. All that is very important.
The infusion, yeah.
Yeah, but how do you handle the other side? That is the wanting to make, like you said, movies where stories given, promise, where, because there are lots of times, speaking about the Tamil film industry, there are many quote-unquote good films that come out. They don't even find an audience simply because people have reserved their monthly movie-going money for the big movie. How do you battle that?
See, at the end of the day, if you take the number of heroes, there will be 10 to 12. And if you take the number of weeks, there'll be 52. And 12 people can't cater to the films that are going to come in the 52. Correct?
Yes.
And if you take the scale of 100, 90% of the films are hero-driven cinema. And stories morph into what the hero fits in. Whereas traditionally, it's something else. Indian cinema, as it took its decision over the 60s and 70s and the story being the hero, suddenly story is for the hero. I think this transition is something we are experiencing. We are staying there for the last 40 years. And I have to say, we are like, the frame is frozen right now. It needs to make some movement for its so-called the original voice to come out. And I think effort is being made. And I have to say honestly that when you make a good cinema, audience do come. It's just not the makers thinking I made a good film. I think there got to be some objectivity to it. And then I think there is strong cinema that will come out.
Right. As an aspiring big hero, if I'm asking you a hypothetical question, if somebody brought you today a film like the films, let's say K. Vishwanatha, Bapu used to make, right? Would you say yes to that?
Oh, absolutely, sir. Today it will be commercial, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, properly.
Okay.
I believe it so.
You
I
believe
think
that?
I believe authenticity will be the new commercial, sir. I've always believed మనం అనుకుంటాం కదా మేము ఎంత కొత్తగా చేస్తే అంత కమర్షియల్ ఈ రోజు అని ఐ థింక్ ద న్యూయర్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ఐ థింక్ we will audience value effort, they will always value authenticity and originality, sir. I think that's very, very important.
Right.
I have to say Santosh represents that, honestly. Because when we think of something new, he always comes in there because his range is very unique. Because he did his first film with me, so I kind of hold that very dear to my heart. He was what, 16 then? 16? 15,
Wow.
yeah. So I had to do this long session with his mom, and his mom is like, somebody holding he had to get back off from school, come to the shoot. I think the first film, when we saw his audition, it was so clear on the range that he can do. I know his dad very well. He's somebody I hold very dearly to my heart. And I think that's where there is an actor and there is a hero. And actors have found the grounding to do the range of characters. So I think all his films represent that range. And he stuck to that original storytelling always.
Right. Now, what is the key to writing? You're a writer-director. What is the key to writing a film that is grounded and yet, has the potential to reach a larger audience? What is the trick there?
Okay, it might be a little too soon for me to answer this, but I'll try. So, I think honesty. I think if you're honest and if you're, if you keep your integrity while writing, I think audience always see it on screen. It never misses out. So, if we want to be pretentious, audience easily catches. So that integrity and honesty in writing will reach a larger audience. Like I'm talking about world audience. Usually, world audience connect to that rooted honesty of culture and the writing.
Yeah. Now, Sunitha, I want to ask you a question on behalf of Sai Rajesh, who's not here with us today because he could not come here. Why do you think a film like Baby worked so well?
I think somewhere it's the reflection of what's happening also in the society and the transition of the gender presentation. I think there is, if you look at, every few years there is that film of a love story that presented a new blend of characters that had a certain honesty, as she said, authenticity, and there is a certain angst that you want to tell about. I think if you look at all the three characters, they had their journey.
Yeah.
And for the first time seeing that journey on the screen, I think appeals to the audience. It appealed to particularly a certain market, and then the music did very well, so it kind of drew the audience to the theaters, I have to say. If you look at, there was always that era of the Prema Sagarams, and I'm talking of mine. And then there are always those different layers of cinema and love stories. I think Baby set a mark there. Yeah, that way.
Yeah. Do you have a theory about that?
Sir, outside of the fact that I thought it was incredibly engaging. Sir, after a long time, we've got one. I got a working class hero, sir. We've lost that in suddenly, we end up giving North the lectures that you forgot and all. Somewhere, I think we also forgot writing stories from our first world, sir, from our heartlands. So it was, for me, it was incredibly engaging to watch one auto driver who comes from this basti. His story was told, her story was told.
Yeah.
And Telugu cinema, I haven't heard that story in a long time in Telugu cinema. I thought it was very, very interesting. The premise was.
Yeah, and if I may just add my opinion, for me, it was very interesting to see after a long time really flawed characters.
Absolutely.
That was like everybody is so perfect usually that it was actually nice to see people with flaws, people who are not perfect. That
That's
was
the honesty. They are
Absolutely.
not changed for the story. The story stood strong.
right, right. Now, when you there is one of late Telugu movies have been one strain of Telugu cinema has been doing at least getting a lot of attention, right? A film like Gami, those films, Ka, films like so where people are really going wild in their imagination and thinking of really really out there stories and kind of audiences also responding to them. What do you think of this trend?
Uh, I think people want to see something new always. Like even DJ Tillu, it was so new and refreshing, Gami or Ka. So they're looking for something new. They have respect for everyone who is trying out something new. I think that's really working nowadays.
Right.
I think these films remind us to dream, sir. Again, we lose that, sir. I've been a child actor. We are so easily conditioned to dream only to a certain level, because outside of that, they make it seem like it's impossible for us. I think to break out of that matrix and just dream, I think it's very important. We forget that.
And these movies are great reminders, right? Is this?
I think, absolutely, sir. And there was this lovely film called 35. I thought it was a lovely, lovely film,
Yeah.
brother. That film too, sir, reminded me to dream again. And sir, 20 years later, I might forget what this person said to me, but I will always remember how he made me feel. Cinema is like that, sir. 20 years later, I'll remember how that film made me feel. I might not remember a dialogue, but I'll remember how it made me feel.
Yeah.
So I think that's really important. Thank you so much, man, for reminding us that.
Yeah, I was I met him before the screening, and I was telling him that I need to watch the movie. That's kind of a thing. So the session is called Balancing Tradition and Modernity, and that is a very broad subject. But how do you see this is because we are in a world where supposedly we are moving forward at a very, very fast pace, and people keep talking about attention spans being reduced, and people wanting to cut the editing patterns have changed drastically, where people are saying that they want to make movies that look like reels because that's what people are absorbing. How are you finding this, the way of making film contrasting with the content of the film? Do you have a thought on that?
I think, there's so much upgradation, and technically everyone's doing so much more than what they used to. But I don't think it should be important to any filmmaker. The first priority should always be the writing and the story, and rest, how much ever we need, like we have to optimize everything else to match that. Just because something new has been invented, it doesn't mean we need to apply it. I feel we need to optimize it, how much ever is required. Yeah, it also helps telling the story in a new way, but I don't think it should take the front seat.
I think first we have to see very clearly that we are talking of cinema. A reel can never be a cinema. Reel is a reel. It's just that we have some new technology which we are using, but the cinematic experience, having the 2 to 3 hours in a theater where the lights are off, and you are going and actually submitting your heart to experience something, I think that experience cannot be changed. I think there is not only the nostalgia of it, but there is a certain imagination we go into when we are watching film. And as Santosh said, it's that feeling you come back with. I think that cannot be taken away. I think somewhere that segregation will happen in our mental space and in our emotional identification, where we will step back and say, before going to bed, I'm watching a few reels, or maybe using end of the day something to watch on a OTT. But cinema is going to stand its position. And I think that variation will happen to us. It's very similar to literature. There is something you read as a novel, which people still do. You will watch it as some strip, which comes, like at the Tarzan, we all go and see, or, I think every method is different. And it's a format. We are all discovering formats.
Right. But as a producer, you are also somebody who has to have an eye on the audience, right? What they want. I mean, yes, cinema. There is a respect for the traditional way of storytelling, but there's a audience is changing. How do you factor that in?
I think when something comes to us, we clearly see it. Is this going to be a cinema, or is this something right now we have OTT, we have to look at OTT? Is this an experience, like you mentioned Gami, and we have to mention Hanuman. We have to mention some of these films that came out where imagination was, taken to where it was taken to. Mm-hmm. And some of the new technology, of course, helps us to kind of take it and portray it in a certain manner. Sometimes technology helps us to tell a story that is never told, and that is finding its way. I think anime is a great example of that, how it just kind of made this generation and generations, now almost into the second decade of generation. So I think we need to figure out what this story deserves.
Yeah.
Does this story need to be told as a reel? I don't know if you know about these microfilms happening in China now. That's the huge thing people are talking about, and it's not very far away. It comes to India and the rest of the world. At the end of the day, everybody's talking about it as a 200-minute film. And now you are breaking it down to 3. Within that 3, they'll find a beginning, middle, and end, and an act 3 and the ending and the hook. Hook is a word we all discovered in OTT. So I think it's an evolution that will happen.
So Santosh, when you get a script, you're also, is the quality of the film the only thing that you think about? It's a very well-written script, it's a very well-written story, or do you also think about, as an actor, I also need to see if this will appeal to an audience?
I've done that and it didn't work, sir. When I didn't do that, it worked. So I'm not trying to, I know it sounds very pretentious, but I think it's very rarely those calculations work for a few people, and those are the lucky people, sir. Actually, most others who are successful, I think they've somewhere inherently made one honest decision, and they didn't lie to themselves. I did, sir. I got to work with some lovely people, and I have made a few decisions based on the names, the markets, or say the likability of a film, or expecting a reaction. I think that's not going to work the way forward, sir. I think we can't lie to ourselves anymore. It has to be the quality of the script and the storyteller.
One of the things that people often say is that audience has been, in the pandemic, audience watched a lot of OTT, they watched a lot of foreign films, and therefore their tastes changed. Is that true only of urban audiences, or is that true of everywhere? Is like, do you think that people are looking at only a small section of OTT watchers and making this observation? Or is it a truth that's everywhere? Do you know that? Anybody? Yeah.
I think that's true everywhere. Not because of pandemic, because of social media also, there's a lot of change in the way audience are consuming the content or films. We hate calling films content, so yeah. So we need to constantly rediscover, because attention spans are changing. Then, there's again a lot of OTT web series coming up, and we are just reinventing the grammar, because Hindi, I think in Hindi, lots of web series have been done so well, and in Telugu, we are trying to still discover the grammar. So I think, yeah, the audience have changed a lot, and so should we.
You somehow don't want to, you don't agree.
Sir, I don't think that whole attention span thing we should I think and try to maneuver through that a lot, sir. I think that's going to curb our creativity in its real sense because so I was talking to a few financiers or producers, ex I won't name, and the film I'm doing now, or like I was trying to the next one I'm trying to pitch, or they're like, tell me one film that is like this that worked. But if there was a film like this that worked, why would I make this film? This is not new, no? You want a new film, but you also want this new film to have worked already before. Now, that is, I feel like, konja problematic, sir.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think.
Yeah,
I don't know, just to address your COVID first and then I'll come to what he's saying. I don't think in COVID we were allowed to go to theater.
Yeah.
It's not like we just diverted our attention towards something that is available for us, and that's when the OTT viewing has gone up.
Yeah.
To look at it realistically. And whenever our eye kind of looks at something else, naturally it's a new knowledge that is hitting you. And you are experiencing, oh, this is also not bad, And if you look at it like that, then suddenly it makes a lot of difference to you. Because audience is coming back to you demanding something better, demanding something of a quality, demanding a genre that is non-existing before, and demanding a films that they can identify themselves more with. That is a great opportunity for filmmakers to tell more variety and get them to a cinematic experience. I think it's good. The more the audience get experience content, they're going to increase the quality quotient of the makers. And I think that's a great place to be for us. And I think more voices will find place to tell their stories. Yeah.
No, speaking of voices, did you want to say something? Yeah. No, speaking of voices, one of the reasons Malayalam cinema is being celebrated so much today is because they tell very, very different stories. They separate the role of a writer and director because most films are, of course, there are films that are written by the director, but they almost like 80% of films, if you see, the writer is separate, the director is separate, and they have a distinct job. Do you think this culture, somehow the other industries are a little resistant to it? Because when I was speaking to a director in Tamil, the reason he said is, out here, not many people know what a director does in a movie. So unless they add the writer part to the director, the salary that comes to us is actually going to be less.
మీరు సీక్రెట్లని చెప్పేస్తే కష్టం అన్నట్లాగా. So it's well, putting all of that aside, I don't think we have treated our writers fairly. I think we have a huge dearth of writers in Telugu because we haven't valued them. It's more about putting something in front of them and making them to write rather than taking what they wrote. I think somewhere the dynamics of it is a mismatch and an imbalance. That's going to take a long time. When you give, I'm just addressing for 2 minutes about the distinction between the writer and the director. When the writer writes something, a director's role was to visualize it. Yes, you can always tell your opinion to the writer, but the writer holds that A to Z opinion on that story. But suddenly the director, when he is in the place of shooting, suddenly makes tweaks to it. And sometimes those tweaks are done just because it is needed by the actor, not because it's needed for the story. As a matter of fact, the writer is supposed to again come back at the editing time. I don't think anybody respects that. Because it is the writer that is born with that story and he has to close the editing part of it with the editor. They are not allowed even to sit. I'm very surprised that sometimes they don't invite writers to come and look at what is it I have done. It's almost that they shy away from showing it because they have manipulated so much with the story. Most of the time writers will say, that's not the story I wrote. So that respect is missing. First you have to respect everybody's craft for them. You should have the opinion and strength and individuality to be able to fight it out or argue it out or negotiate it. But do not lose your writer. We lost our writers. So somewhere we have to admit it and we have to somehow build that community. And only then the Telugu cinema, in my own opinion, stands its ground. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Anil Banwari here. You know, RRR is one film which broke out, really broke out, and it went to the Oscars, RRR. Can we have a scenario where there are 5 families which I think are responsible for Telugu cinema, if I'm correct, of 5 or 6 families which control. Can we have the studios coming together and making a film which can break through in the world and crack the global market, which is honest and true to Telugu narrative, but it can travel the world? Can that happen? That's one, but it didn't crack, it didn't break through and become a $1 billion film.
I think you, we were not able to hear you too well.
Okay, so my question is, can we have the 5 or 6 or 8 families come together and make a film that can travel and crack through the global market?
That's Sunitha should answer.
All the families have to get along first.
Can we please
Because one of them will have their hero to come and the other one will have, no, our hero has to come. So let's be very practical about it. You can still tell a story that is going to make its ripples in the global world. It doesn't need the families. It's the story.
No, but it needs the money power also.
No, trust
Because,
me.
because it's a marketing machine which is Hollywood.
Marketing
There's a marketing machine.
No, marketing machine is invented. If you look at Hollywood, when the whole Marvel angle started, it is just comic book. It's just the theme of superhero that was what the need of the hour is.
No, not just heroes, superheroes. Even the Titanics of the world, those were marketing machines. They were not brilliant stories, not that we can't tell them.
I don't think you need to bring all the families together. You can go and pitch it to one hero and he will go and make the ripples. I think to mix it all is not really, because then the dynamics of having to work with them becomes like a huge therapy session. You know, like we all have to go through what will happen and how do we go about it, what do we
How do you
cater
get the
to
money
other.
power? We need the money power to push it across the world. We need to make so many releases. We need to make so much of push in the global marketplace, have global
money-
press conferences.
Sir,
Money.
Are you assuming that all the producers are putting in their own money in films? I'm
Good one. Yes.
so
Sir, where did
in
Samir-
that context.
Yeah, where did Samir Nair go for the money, sir? He didn't go to any of the big families. He went to the other big families. Yeah. So let's understand where the money is and let's go there to find the story.
Sorry if I ask a very touchy question.
No, it's just the minute you say families, I suddenly thought of Godfather and the Mafia. This is like,
Which it
oh my
is,
goodness.
if I'm correct. It is, sort of.
So I was like, okay. So
Excepting it's the filmmaking.
yeah. But
And sir, to do that, I think you should bring all the good writers together. Why families? Yeah. We need good story for that.
I think right now we had somebody, I think Vijan Prasad garu ellipoyinattunnaru, but he is writing a story that is going to go global and he's already wrote stories that went global. So
Yeah.
so you know, no. It's time for Q&A anyway. So we open out the floor for questions. Yeah. You all have a mic.
Hi. Baradwaj sir, I'm a big fan of yours. I'm an aspiring journalist. Like, I'm a journalist now. I'm aspiring to be you someday.
Oh, thank you. Please keep your hair.
And yeah, I'm Kausalya. Yeah. And Padmavathi garu, you did Gandhi Tata Chettu, right?
Yeah.
So the making, especially the second half, it made me feel like actually in the story. I'm in the story. That's really wonderful storytelling, ma'am. And it also felt like it's kind of inspired from some foreign movies, like Iranian kind of storytelling, like, you know. Did you get inspired from something or, you know, that was your writing? Can you explain?
Thank you so much. And I got inspired because as a child, I read a lot of story books. I think the second half is like a folk story from a book. So the way I made it also, I made it like a storybook because it's a children's film. That's how I wanted to make it. But yeah, Iranian films are so beautiful. Thanks for comparing. Thank you. And
So
sir,
actually, I'm sorry, ma'am. Gandhi Tata Chettu has taken 15 awards to his credit. Okasari gettiga chappal kottalandi for that.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is Krishna, journalist. My question to Sunitha Garu. Is there any different line between this is OTT movie, this is theatrical movie? Is there any definition for both of them?
అంటే ఇప్పుడు ఓటీటీ సినిమాలు ఆర్ కమింగ్ సో యూ కెన్ సే దట్ దెర్ ఇస్ ఎ డిఫరెన్స్ బట్ దేర్ ఆర్ అండ్ పీపుల్ ఆర్ సపరేటింగ్ ఇట్ యాజ్ ఎ సినిమాటిక్ ఎక్స్పీరియన్స్ దట్ ఇట్ హ్యాస్ టు హ్యావ్ స్కోప్, ఇట్ నీడ్స్ టు హ్యావ్ విఎఫ్ఎక్స్ అండ్ ఆల్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. ఐ పర్సనలీ ఫీల్ ఎ స్టోరీ ఈజ్ నెవర్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ సినిమా అండ్ ఓన్లీ ఫర్ ఓటీటీ. ఐ పర్సనలీ డోంట్ బిలీవ్ దాట్. ఇట్స్ వేర్ ఇట్ ఫైండ్స్ ఇట్స్ వాయిస్ ఈజ్ ఇంపార్టెంట్.
Sir, this is me, sir. I am KL Prasad. I am a writer and an actor. And more than that, I respect you very much for your film analysis and all those things. I am talking to Baradwaj Rangan.
Thank you.
Even I read your books also.
Thank you.
I have a question, sir. Actually, I was waiting for a good article from you. Why 90% of the films are losing money? That is a big question. Second thing is, I also teach, I'm a visiting faculty for Telugu University. I teach screenplay. My passion is studying screenplay. I tell my students one aspect of cinema. I want to know how you will react to that. There are no bad stories, only bad storytellers. Do you agree to that?
I do agree that, first of all, thank you. I do agree that there are no bad. I agree completely with that because it's the way you tell the story. Because the story itself is something that has been, like for example, if you take a baby, you can find the DNA of that story as far back as Maro Charitra or something like that. There is no. So it's an evolution, but the way, the conviction with which they designed the characters, especially the heroine. I know some people had a lot of controversial opinions about the way the heroine was treated. I think that is what really makes the difference. So it's really about the writing, the screenplay, the characterization, the uniqueness of each thing that makes it. See, we could whether it is a baby or an RRR, it's the writing that because I still remember being in a theater. Obviously, we all saw RRR in a theater, and when that scene comes where he comes in with all those animals and crashes into the party. Everybody just, gasped because the imagination is so wild in that scene. It's so amazingly that's what somebody was talking about. See, a new experience does not always have to be cerebral. It can also be very visceral. It does not always have to be intellectual or something like that. It can be something you're a child again. You feel like a little kid again. Oh my God, this is happening. So I think it's really about the storytellers than the story, and which is why I brought up the point about the writers also. Yeah.
చాలా రిలవెంట్ క్వశ్చన్ అడిగారండి మీరు. బ్యాడ్ స్టోరీస్ అనేది ఉండదు కానీ బ్యాడ్ స్టోరీ టెల్లర్స్ అనేవాళ్ళు ఎందుకంటే క్రాఫ్ట్ మారిపోతుంది కదండి ఇప్పుడు ఇక్కడ.
No story is a bad story. If it has inspired one person, Einstein said, most personal is universal. If you believe in that, it cannot make you sleep or anything. It holds you like anything if it's personal. If you can translate it on the screen, that feeling, anybody will be out. The same feeling I had for Baby Sir. I very much appreciated that attempt. A small film with a little known and unknown actors collected more than 100 crores is not a joke. I really appreciate Sai Rajesh for that.
Yeah. And I would say other movies like Upena, there are many.
Yeah. Yes, they are coming like a spark, then missing out and all those things. And the example you have told about Triple R. Recently, our Telugu Cine Writers Association has conducted a workshop, screenplay workshop for 3 days. And I was given on 1 hour on the third day, last day. I asked nearly 115 people who enrolled there to learn about screenplay. I asked, how much curious you are about everything. Do you know what is curiosity?
Yeah.
See, Triple R is a pure Telugu film with Telugu 2 stars, and the director totally had the focus on Telugu audience. That focus, that feeling is so personal, it became universal. Everybody reacted. And I am sure you have seen how James Cameron reacted to that.
Yeah.
Exactly, he pointed out that. I asked him, I asked those students who are appearing, you only feel that James Cameron has praised Triple R. But what he said, try to look through his eyes. RRR, then you will know what it is. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
I think we have time's up is what is being said. So
Hello.
maybe we can have one more question.
We can take one question.
Yeah, hello, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Venkatesh. Yeah, I have a question for each one of you. Firstly, ma'am, like, మీరు మహానటికి వర్క్ చేశారు కదా అసలు రైట్ సో మాకు తెలియని విషయం మహానటి సావిత్రి గారి గురించి ఏదన్నా ఒక విషయం మీరు చెప్పండి మేడం సునీత మేడం ఐఎమ్ ఇన్ టు ఆర్టిఫిషియల్ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్ సో హౌ ఈస్ ఏఐ గోనా revolutionize like film making process, like you're as a producer, how do you feel AI is gonna impact every craft? That question for you. Sunitha madam, make a question. Yeah, one question for each of you. No, different question, like okay, AI, how is gonna AI impact film making process?
How is AI going to impact
every craft అని మీ క్వశ్చన్. శోభన్ సార్, మీ పేపర్ బాయ్ అనే మూవీలో ముంబై ఎప్పుడు పోతారా రాజా అని సాంగ్ ఉంటుంది, మీరు ఎప్పుడు ముంబై పోతున్నారు, వెన్ ఈస్ పాన్ ఇండియా?
Look at this. I love the expression.
అండ్ భరద్వాజ్ సార్, మీకు కూడా ఒక క్వశ్చన్ ఉంది. యూ ట్రాన్సిషన్ ఫ్రమ్ ఇంజనీరింగ్ బ్యాక్గ్రౌండ్ టు ఫిల్మ్ క్రిటిక్, ఆ ట్రాన్సిషన్ ప్రాసెస్ లైక్ ఒకసారి.
That's like that's true.
We'll start from there.
No, that's a very long story, and I think I've told it enough. But yeah, I just, my passion was cinema, and I found that I wanted to get into this. Luckily, it worked out. Luckily, I'm here.
I'm an IIT and like I completed my BTech in electrical engineering.
Yeah,
I went to
but
filmmaking.
Many people in films are engineers, so that's not a big surprise.
Engineers are everywhere.
So
And one thing you guys don't know about, Baradwaj is that he's a great screenplay writer.
Oh,
And I know he kind of is shying away from it, and I got a chance to produce his first film. Let me tell you, he's a brilliant writer. I mean, it's not every time you see a script and say, let's go and make it. And the effort he made even till today, it's an amazing story.
thank you.
Sir, I have to say this. Your conversations with Maniratnam when it came out and I read it is one of the bigger reasons I quit college.
Oh,
So
okay.
I give that credit to you.
Okay, please don't introduce me to your mother or father. This is like, but yeah, you can answer this question
Santosh, sir.
about AI.
What will AI do to cinema? First thing is, it's going to, and I'm going to talk from a producer point of view. There are many spaces in production. It's going to help us to bring the production cost to a great extent, because it will be able to help us to view and envision the problematic areas of production. And there's a lot of discussion about it, the variables and what is the duration of shooting, where can we reduce. I'm not talking about other problems we'll see on the location, but that way people are going to benefit a lot. One of the most interesting aspect is it's going to give you a cheaper, easier pre-visualization. Because when we know pre-visualization before, it helps us to plan the production better. Lot of the time, right now, entire pre-visualization is not at all a concept that is spoken in Indian cinema or mainly in Telugu cinema. Somehow, if we know that most of it stays in the head of the director, and that if you can somehow get it on the paper before, it helps you to reduce your cost, which means we can invest more into the production and the quality of the production. And post-production, I think, is going to have a very nice impact in the post-production, especially when it comes to languages, dubbing, music, and DI work. I think we're going to see great impact there. And coming to other formats of cinema like animation, I think it's going to have a great space, great work in how we can kind of work on the modeling aspect of it and some of the VFX areas. I think it's going to be better storytelling. And I am quite excited about it and looking forward to work with it more.
Yeah, ma'am. And one more thing, you discussed about microfilms, right? China.
China.
Yeah. So why don't you do microfilms for to encourage coming new talent, to encourage new talent? Why don't you?
అర్జెంటుగా వాళ్ళు ఆపేస్తే దరిద్రం వదిలిపోద్దంటే మనల్ని చేయమంటావు ఏంటి నువ్వు?
ఓకే, అంతే కదా. అంటే 3 minutes స్టోరీ అంతా అయిపోతుంది కాబట్టి న్యూ
అవ్వదండి, మొత్తం కథ చాలా ఉంటుందండి. ఇది ప్రతి వారం వస్తున్న పేపర్లో సీరియల్ లాగా దానిలాగా అంటే ఒక స్టోరీ అయ్యాక వెయిట్ చేస్తాను. నెక్స్ట్ మళ్ళీ 2-3 నిమిషాలు రావడానికి వారం కూడా వెయిట్ చేయొచ్చు, రెండో రోజే వెయిట్ చేయొచ్చు, సాయంత్రం కూడా వెయిట్ చేయొచ్చు.
ఓకే.
సో సమ్ టైమ్స్ మార్నింగ్ ఈవినింగ్ కూడా ఉంటాయి మీకు. సో
మీరు నన్ను ఏం అడిగారు, నేను మర్చిపోయాను, సారీ.
నాకు మహానటి ఒకటే గుర్తు.
మహానటి సావిత్రి గారి గురించి మాకు తెలియని విషయం మీకు తెలిసింది. బికాస్ యూ వర్క్ అండ్ యూ మైట్ హ్యావ్ డన్ సమ్ రీసెర్చ్, రైట్?
ఓకే, ఒకటి మేము బాగా రిగ్రెట్ అయిన విషయం, స్క్రిప్ట్లో అకామిడేట్ చేయలేకపోయిన విషయం, ఆవిడకు హక్కు ఉన్నారు. సో అది మేము పెట్టలేకపోయాం డ్యూ టు వేరియస్ రీజన్స్. అది ఐ థింక్ మెనీ పీపుల్ డెంట్ నో. సో షీ హ్యాస్ అన్ ఎల్డర్ సిస్టర్ హూ ఇస్ వెరీ డియర్ టు హర్.
థ్యాంక్ యూ.
సంతోష్ శోభన్ గారు, మీరు చెప్పలేదు ఆన్సర్.
हम बाहर बात करते हैं.
గంటలో ఫ్లైట్ ఉంది ముంబైకి.
He's ready for his pan-India startup.
సో చాలా మంది ఇంకా క్వశ్చన్స్ అడగాలని ఉన్నారు, కానీ టైం వీఆర్ రన్నింగ్ అవుట్ ఆఫ్ టైం అండి. 2 minutes అంటే చాలా టైం పడుతుంది సార్. సో తర్వాత మీరు అడగొచ్చండి క్వశ్చన్స్. ఐఎమ్ రియలీ సారీ టు కట్ యూ ఆఫ్ హియర్. భరద్వాజ్ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సో మచ్. ఐ వుడ్ లైక్ టు టేక్ ది ఆపర్చునిటీ టు కోట్ సంథింగ్ హియర్ నౌ దట్ వీ హ్యావ్ వండర్ఫుల్ అండ్ పవర్ఫుల్ females, women sitting with us. So it is, the quote goes like this, that when a man is educated, an individual is educated. But when a woman is educated, the whole family is educated and the whole nation is educated. Ma'am, thank you for inspiring a lot of aspiring filmmakers here. Thank you so much for being the role model. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Now, let me ask Baradwaj sir if you can please give a token of appreciation to Sunitha ma'am, Padmavathi ma'am and Soban sir. Please. ఒకసారి గట్టిగా చప్పట్లు కొట్టానండి ప్లీజ్. I would request everyone if you can give a round of applause. And not forgetting you, sir. మళ్ళొకసారి కొంచెం ఎనర్జీతోని అందరూ ఒక్కసారి గట్టిగా చప్పలు కొట్టాలి. I want everyone with lots of energy. Please give a huge round of applause to Sunitha ma'am, Santosh sir, Padmavathi garu and our moderator Baradwaj sir. Thank you so much.